In-depth analysis, passionate debate, and round 18 predictions. It's time for the Captain's Run. It is indeed time for the Captain's Run. I'm back after a hiatus. Is the one and only Mr. Steph Sale. Good afternoon, Steph.
Good afternoon, Dave. You all right?
Living the dream. A few hours away from, of course, round 18 kicking off. Predictions could be fun this evening with all the injuries, but we'll get into that shortly. But before we do, a few things have happened today. Jed Cartwright off to Saints. Didn't see that one coming. I don't know if you've heard this. Jed Cartwright is on loan until the end of the season at St. Helens. Paul Rowley saying that when the opportunity came up, it was too good to resist. Your thoughts on that one?
I think it's potentially a good move for Saints. I think he's a really good back rower if he can remain on the pitch. I think that's been Jed's Achilles heel since he came over, hasn't it? You know, staying fit.
Yeah.
Really surprised from an FC point of view, given the players that they've got out at the minute. You know, it kind of sends a message, that one, doesn't it? A bit cryptically. But, very surprised and they've allowed him to leave when they've got a bit of a injury crisis themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. People in the chat, of course, Greg Roach, good afternoon to you. By all accounts, Asher O'Donnell gone for the season. That's bad news as well. That's come out, which is interesting. Also, Craig Forth in the chat already. Get your comments in the chat. Of course, we can reply to you today because we're live. Happy days, wonderful stuff. And also, Jeremiah Matautia has been announced will leave Leeds Rhinos. Now, Steph, this is he. This season, played about 12 games, 21, decent tackler. Now you've got to remember he's played a lot of these appearances off the bench. So when you look at those stats, this isn't a player that's doing mega minutes. You know, he's been coming off the bench for FC when he's been playing for FC. He got minimal time at Leeds this year. The bits that I've seen of him, Steph, at 21, worth a punt by someone for next season.
Oh, definitely. I watched him at Lee and I thought he had a really good game against us at the Sports Village when FC were really down on troops as well and he had to put a right shift in. So, another surprising departure. Obviously, Leeds have got big names coming in next season. I mean, they're going to be recruiting very heavily with their departures as well. So obviously surplus for requirements in that department. Obviously they loaded him out to FC, didn't they? So obviously not in Brad Arthur's plans, but I'm sure there'll be a few coaches on standby at the moment in terms of this young lad.
I mean, Huddersfield spring to mind.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not being funny, but you know, when you consider some of their signings of late, I've seen enough in this lad to suggest that he could be a very good addition for Huddersfield if they were in for him.
Yeah, I think Huddersfield, Bradford, York.
Yeah.
I think even Castleford, you know, could be in for him. I think he'll probably. Well, it depends what he gets offered, doesn't it? But with him being in West Yorkshire already. It makes sense to be around those clubs and that area, so he wouldn't have to relocate. But you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he rocked up at Lee or Saints. To be honest with you,
he's got something about him. I mean, like I say, I when I saw him when I saw him at the HJ, I thought, you know what, there's something about this lad, and he certainly improved FC. And I think FC would have had him back, but they have said that with the exception of Ethan O'Neill, who has gone back to FC and probably will remain there till the end of the season, that Matautia will be retained at Headingley from now until the end of the season. But I think there's no question, had he been allowed to stay at FC, they'd have kept him with open arms. This is a very, very interesting development for me, and it's one that we'll keep a close eye on. Where will Jeremiah Matautia be applying his trade next year? Well, we will wait and we will see. Right, let's get into, of course, the preview show, the predictions, as always here on the Captain's Run. And let's remind ourselves of what the table looked like at the end of Magic Weekend. Of course, we'll come into this one in a bit. Bradford and Huddersfield go toe-to-toe this weekend. Of course, those bottom places in the league. Then, of course, an opportunity for York, of course, not a million miles there behind Hull FC. Could be a big one, this, for them in terms of leapfrogging Hull FC, which, again, will be an unbelievable story tonight if that happened at the York Knights. That's going to be interesting as well. Toulouse won't be easy for Saints. No question about that whatsoever. Then, of course, it's the Tigers and the Dragons. Then we get into those top 7 positions. This is who we think is going to be the runners and riders in terms of Super League this year. Leeds, of course, still in great form. They sit top, go to the Dragons this weekend. Then it's the Warriors who play Warrington. Of course, those 2 teams level on points but play each other this week. Then, of course, Trinity and KR play each other. So this could be a very, very good week indeed for Saints and Lee, providing, Steph, they both get the job done.
Yes, absolutely. And I think as we go through the remaining, 10 rounds of this season, top 7 clubs, I think at least every week, one of them is playing each other. So people are going to drop points between now and the end of the season. So it's going to make it very interesting in terms of this top 7. But I can't see anybody outside of the 7 getting into the playoffs. It'd be some miracle, I think, if Catalan or Castleford or FC put a run together. I just can't see it. But plenty of opportunity for the clubs that are in that 7, but also plenty of opportunity to go out of it as well if you don't peak at the right time. And obviously throw injuries into the equation now to quite a number of clubs, including Lee, who suffered 3 losses at the Magic weekend, big losses as well. It's going to be tough, for any club to keep it outside of Leeds, I'd say. I think Leeds are the only ones who are 100% guaranteed at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You can't see Leeds dropping out, but everybody else. I mean, Wiggins injuries. We'll get to them later in the show. Warrington at the moment have got their own injury concerns, albeit it looks like it's a bit of good news for Warrington where that's concerned. Very, very tight after that, incredibly tight. So it's all to play for in Super League. As we always do here on the Captain's Run, we're going to go in reverse order for today's show. And of course, we haven't got the Saints or the Toulouse squads going into the game on Sunday. They get announced tomorrow, of course. But there's no doubt about it. Toulouse, incredible at the weekend. Absolutely phenomenal at the weekend against Catalan. I mean, again, we always say, was it that Toulouse was good? I'm just going to give all the plaudits to Toulouse. I thought their attacking shape, the way they went about the business, that's got to be a big concern for Paul Rowley, especially considering the war of attrition that his troops played on Sunday.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a factor in this one because not just physically but emotionally, for St Helens, whenever you play a derby against Wigan, it does take it out of you both physically and mentally. So it's a big challenge for them to back up that loss and go and really put a score on Toulouse. Do I see that happening? Probably not. But likewise, Toulouse, we've said all season, haven't we, that they played for 20 minutes after the game's lost. This was one of the first times that they have actually strung an 80-minute performance together, and they'll take a lot of heart from that and confidence. So I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup. This could be the game of the round. We build up some others, and we're often disappointed. This one's gone under the radar a little bit, and I think it could be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, I mean, I think as they meet, like I say, I think the fact that Saints clearly had it, and I think that, we don't know yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if when the 21-man squad of Saints comes out tomorrow, there might be a couple of absentees that will be explained at the time in terms of some bumps and bruises from last week. No doubt about it. Like I say, Toulouse coming into this in great form. We mustn't forget as well, Steph, that, the first meeting that these two had in round 5 was an absolute, probably Saints' best 40 minutes of the season. I go as far as to say that. I thought the first half in Toulouse, St Helens were almost unplayable, wasn't they? They were that good in terms of their attacking shape.
They were, and again, as we alluded to a second ago, this was the Toulouse we know and love this season, isn't it? They turned up that second half and made that game a lot closer than what it should have been. But you're right, St Helens were pretty close to perfect in that first half against Toulouse, and that was at Toulouse as well, wasn't it?
It was indeed.
Rightly. Yeah. So. They'll be looking to replicate that, but for a full 80. Likewise, Toulouse will be looking to replicate their 80-minute performance against Catalan, and that's why I think this has got all the makings of a fantastic game. Throw into that, like I say, St Helens a bit attritionally wounded and mentally wounded from that loss against Wigan. It could be a very interesting one. I'm really excited to tune in on Sunday and watch this.
Before we get into the tail of the tape of these two and really have a quick look at that, and also a key matchup in the game like we always do, are we getting to that point now in the season where a team like Saints, who are currently in the top six, can ill afford to drop points by those teams that are beneath them? We know, as you've already said, everybody's going to play each other in that top 6 or 7, and they're going to be premium points. But to lose to teams now 7th or below, and we'll throw Leeds in 8th and below. To lose teams to those to lose games to those sides, that is disastrous now. I think we're at a point where you can ill afford to slip up against those lower sides.
Yeah, I think the only one that could is Leeds, because I think they're just
too far.
You know, yeah, to I mean, but saying that, if Leeds want to win the league Leaders' Shield, then the same applies in that respect. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Anyone who's going for the playoffs now, every point is crucial, and especially against teams that you're expected to win. You probably need to win a couple of games that you're not expected to win for a lot of those clubs in the top 6 at the moment, as well, to guarantee your status.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening and good afternoon as well to Stuart Scaife. Good to see you, Stu. Hope you're well. And Craig says that Saints will be hurting and will want to put in a performance. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape between these two. And of course, quite a considerable amount of league positions are between them. But what's interesting is, credit to Toulouse, the average fours there, only 3 in it. 23 points average per game for Saints, plays 20 for Toulouse. Defensively, Saints are 7 points better defensively than them on average this season. Both of the two teams are coming into this game with 2 wins in the last 5. So again, form very, very similar in that respect. Again, where when you consider this is Saints, we're talking about 69 tries to 60. That's good going. That's good going from a Toulouse perspective. As you look at those stats, Steph, what's leaping out to you in terms of how these two fare?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're. If you'd have said to Toulouse at the beginning of the season, you'd only be 9 tries behind St. Helens, I think they'd have snapped your hand off. That's a phenomenal, and no more no more prolific, should I say, than Oli Ashobot. But Liguere as well on the wing for them has been fantastic, with try scoring. Hans has been really good at 9. So they've got some really, really good players in that Toulouse team, and I'm really excited for them for next season when they can strengthen this squad with players that they want, and obviously be given full cap as well, which they didn't have last year. So that could be very interesting. I think the tackle busts is pretty good for the league as well. Saints on 629, but how many of those are for Alex Walmsley? He probably makes up about 100 of those, doesn't he? On his own. But the one that really jumps out to me, well, 2 that really jump out to me, are the number of clean breaks that Toulouse are making, and this is where your likes of Oli Ashobot comes in, doesn't it? 84 clean breaks is pretty decent going. But also from a disciplinary perspective, only 2 yellow cards all season. That's excellent from a team at the bottom of the league. You tend to see disciplinary issues. Toulouse haven't been that side. They've been really, really good. And that counts in the penalties as well. Only 91 penalties to Saints 113. So discipline's going to be massive, because if Saints give this Toulouse side field position, that crowd, we already know some of the things in terms of Paul Rowley and their fan base at the moment. If Toulouse can go into an early lead, the pressure could be on for this Saints team more than anything from their own fans.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot said a lot of the time, isn't there, that those teams at the top of the table get the rub of the green when penalties are concerned. But when you look at that there, Toulouse 91, Saints 113. And discipline for Saints has been poor. 9 yellows this season and counting. That's just not good enough. It's as simple as that. They need to be cleaner, Saints. They really, really do. But like I said, there's lots there to be optimistic. And my eye casts itself up to the match odds. 5-1 Toulouse. That's just an outright win.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that's unbelievable.
It's worth, as you would say, Dave, it's worth a tickle, that one, I think. I've not done bet stuff, have I? I'm proper out of sorts at the moment with Captain's Run, but I'm not saying it's going to happen. But at those odds, it's definitely worth an outside bet, because it wouldn't be, if Toulouse went to Saints and won, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, absolutely not. And I think even Saints supporters will be looking at this and thinking they're going to have to earn the right to win. And you mentioned Ollie Ashall, but look, that for me, this is where it's at. And I put their head to head for the World Cup. I mean, Wellesby, we know, is more than likely going to go. And Ollie Ashall has not been spoken about really from an England call-up perspective. But when you put the two side by side, yes, Ollie's played 5 games more. Jack's been injured this season. But, you know, those statistics that Ollie has put in, even if you double Jack's to 18 games, just double, if you said like double his stats to 18 in terms of what his glide path is, in a lot of these areas, he's not even doubling his performance. Like, for example, busts, 108 tackle busts, Ollie Ashall bought. That's ridiculous, mate.
Yeah, it is. And obviously he's missed a few games as well himself, hasn't he? So those stats would be even more impressive if he'd have played every game. So for me, it's not even a contest, this one, in terms of form. Obviously, if Wellesby can get back to anything like his form from a couple of years ago, then it's a different story. But there's no doubt at this moment in time, Ollie Ashall is by far the best fullback over those two.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And again, we've got to give him flowers, mate. I mean, he's not getting enough flowers for me, Ollie Ashall. No. And to put him next to a seasoned, arguably, I think he's been dream team in the past, Jack. He's well respected in the game. For those who have not got the finger on the pulse, when you look at that slide and you compare and contrast the two players, Ollie Ashall, for me, this season, is in the reckoning for Dream Team 1, no doubt about it. And, people say, you can't take Ollie Ashall to the World Cup. Well, you can if you're picking on form. Now, don't get me wrong. It's also about temperament in the World Cup. You're going to Australia. It's a big stage, and I get that. But there's no doubt about it. Ollie Ashall this season, simply superb, mate. Simply superb. Right, which way are you going? I mean, this is a tough. I think this is a tough one to call. I really do.
Yeah, and I've been witness to a game against Toulouse this season where Lee were expected to win. Had a lot of injuries out, but still expected to win, and we had a golden point. I think history might repeat itself a little bit in that respect here. I think it's going to be a really close game, but I'm going to go for Toulouse to kick the drop goal this time and take the win.
You're going to lose?
Yeah. Wow. I'm going to go 20 points to 21.
To lose with a nail-biting win. Wow. Greg Roach saying this could be the highest scoring fixture of the weekend. Could be. I think what we do know about Toulouse is they score points. There's no question about that. Saints are going to have to outscore them. They'll have to outscore.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's my concern for Saints, because I don't think Clark's going to be playing. So that's a lot of their go forward. Gone in that respect. And I think hooker's one of those positions where Saints can't really afford injuries.
Well, it'll be Shorrocks again, won't it? Be Shorrocks again.
He's not a 9 in the memory of man. So this is why, Saints at home, you'd still think they would be favourites, and the bookies clearly do. But there's just something in me that says after that performance against Catalan, Toulouse might have a bit of confidence going into this one. And it all depends on the first 20. If Toulouse can get ahead in that first 20, then Saints could be in real trouble.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Saints by 6, but yeah, I get your point. I think it's going to be a real humdinger of a game. Right, let's go to France. Let's go to Perpignan, and let's go to the visit of the Leeds Rhinos. And look, this on paper is a bloodbath. I mean, there's no question about it. 1-7 on away from home. The Leeds Rhinos going into this game. But that said, we mustn't forget, and we'd be silly to forget, that the Leeds Rhinos have lost their last 3 games in Perpignan. So that's something that we need to, we just need to have in the back of our minds. But this is a different Leeds Rhinos, perhaps, to the teams that have gone over there in the recent past. They're in incredible form. Like I say, the tail of the tape that we're looking at there's not an awful lot that you could pick out that doesn't tell you how dominant you would expect Leeds to be in this game, because quite frankly, they just do look head and shoulders on paper and on the field better than Catalan this year.
Yeah, and obviously off the back of last week's result for Catalan as well. There'll be a lot of soul searching going on at the Stade Brutus this week. They just looked. They just didn't look like themselves at all in that game, and we rightly give Toulouse their credit, but we should also criticise Catalan for what was a dreadful, probably their worst performance of the season. A lot of that obviously instigated by Toulouse, but even so, I think defensively they were just really, really poor. At times, Toulouse cut them open at will. So they'll definitely have the tackle bags out at training this week, and it doesn't get any easier for them because white hot Leeds Rhinos are coming. And I know there's history there with Leeds. I think is it 8 and 9 or something on the spin that they've not won there or something. It's a really
Yeah.
bizarre start. I know Alex Sharp, one of our members, is over there at the moment, and he always reminds us of Leeds, really poor form over there. So for him, I hope they get the win, so he can enjoy Perpignan for a change. But yeah, I can't think of anything at all that is convincing me that Catalan can compete in this game. Leeds are
No,
just too good at the moment.
no. Well, like I say, this will be going on our socials on Saturday, and you can take a look for yourself. I mean, quite frankly, league positions don't lie, but it really is a dominant tail of the tape where Leeds Rhinos are concerned over the Catalan Dragons, with the exception of their very poor form in Perpignan. Right, here are the two sides side by side. Here are the 21-man squad. Let's put them bigger on the screen just for a moment. And yeah, it's interesting, very interesting to see yet again, Leeds looking really good fettle, don't they? You look down those squad numbers there. They are in fantastic fettle, mate. They go into this, I'm sure, with bags of confidence.
Yeah, I think Hall's the only noticeable absentee, isn't he? Who's been playing recently there.
Yeah.
I think is it meniscus injury, foot
Yeah.
injury, isn't it?
He's expected to be out for a while, yeah.
Yeah. So, but that does give an opportunity for Riley Lum, doesn't it? Or Alfie Edgell
Probably
to
Edge.
come
I
in.
think Edgell's the favourite, I think.
Is it? I mean that's good for them because what Ryan Hall brings in size on the wing, those two bring pace, and ones I've really enjoyed watching when they've been playing in that Leeds first team. So I'm glad one of them's going to get their opportunity by the looks of it at the weekend. Because I can't see him moving Hankinson there with the way he's been playing in second row. So, um,
Well, they
so yeah,
don't
I
need
mean,
to. They don't need to, do they?
no, they don't know. They don't need to, and I just think it'll be a like for like swap in that position. And what that will give is like I say, a bit of extra pace on that wing, which Ryan Hall's obviously coming to the end of his career, he's lost a bit of pace. So, but I mean, going back to the stats that he had on before, I think the biggest concern in this one for me is to be averaging Catalan 30 conceded, and you're going against a team that can score for fun. This is why it's 1-7 leads for a win here. That's a massive average against, isn't it? For any team, if you're averaging 30 points a game conceded, you're not going to win many games, are you? So
No. I've just noticed there that I don't think I clearly didn't update the odds for the Catalan side on that. So I'll get their odds for you now in a moment. But look, I mean, that said, Catalan have got the personnel. This is the mad thing about Catalan. It's absolutely bonkers for me. They have absolutely got the personnel on any given day to turn up and cause a team problems, and they have. But you just have no faith in them doing it, and especially against the white hot Leeds. You just can't see it, can you?
yeah, I think there's all sorts of issues that Catalan stemming from having three coaches, disruption, players that they know that are going back to the NRL at the end of the season. I think it's clear as day for me, and maybe the Catalan club will disagree, but it's clear as day to me that is not a team. It's not. It's a team. It's a club full of individuals who've got all the talent in the world. Some of those players, but to be great, Leeds being the prime example there. You've got to have really, really good players, but you've also got to have that bond and chemistry, a brothership, and you can see that in spades in that Leeds side. The way they play for each other, I don't see that at all in Catalan. I think it's a team of individuals, and that to me has been their biggest issue, and that stems from, like I say, when you're swapping coaches like Sunday dinners, then that's going to happen and can be, it's a fair excuse as to why they're so poor this year and at times.
I completely agree. 9-2, not 2-9, 9-2 were Catalan. Before we go to predictions on this, I wanted to pick out, like we always do, some interesting matchups. And you've already mentioned one of them, but you haven't mentioned the other. And I have to say, second row surprises 2026. Zach Lipowicz on the Dragon side and Chris Hankinson. Two players this year that, for me, nobody can argue with their contributions. I don't even think Leeds Rhinos fans would have expected Chris Hankinson to be holding down with authority a second row spot like he is. His performances this year, quite sensational. For the purposes of the podcast, I'll quickly run through them. Lipowicz has played all 17 games. He scored 6 tries, made 3. He's had 34 tackle busts, 6 breaks, 509 tackles, 6 offloads. He's carried the ball 171 times for 6.9 meters a carry. Hankinson, even better. 17 appearances, 7 tries, 2 assists, 43 busts. He's got 8 clean breaks, 324 tackles, 4 offloads, 197 carries in the league this year, 7.2 average game. These two players, Steph, for me, are just playing some wonderful, wonderful edge rugby league.
Yeah, they are, and I think Hankinson especially has really upped his game, and this the good thing at Leeds is the competition for places, as we've seen with Ethan O'Neill now being shipped out to FC. Hankinson's definitely won the battle of the second row position in that respect, because I think you could argue that those two were probably the closest together off the back of last season and bringing O'Neill in. I think those would have been in direct competition with each other. Hankinson's clearly won it, and hence why Ethan O'Neill's now an FC player rather than a Leeds Rhino. But you've got to give the guy his credit. He's played really, really well. He is playing in a very, very good side. I would say that. He's been in the league a long time. It's no coincidence that his form has recently gone up as Leeds have gone really good. But you've got to give him credit because he had to earn that place, and he has definitely done that in spades.
Yeah, absolutely. Those two players well worth keeping an eye on. And again, if Catalan are going to get anything out of this game, then Lewis Dodd needs to have an absolute storming game. The match winners, and they are. I think, if Catalan are going to win this game, Dodd's going to have to be on his game. Jake Connor's stats again this season, absolutely superb. Last year we were looking at Mikey Lewis, could he back up? And to be fair to Mikey Lewis in 2025, he did back up on 2024. And the same question was being asked this time around. Could Jake Connor do what he's never really done in his career, back up from a sensational season? And by God, is he doing it? 16 appearances this season, 2 tries, 26 assists already. That's incredible. 7 busts, 3 offloads, 124 attacking kicks, 205 in general play, carrying the ball 115 times. Don't make many meters. Most of his work comes from the boot, but it's fair to say Jake Connor is having. It's difficult to compare and contrast seasons, but at this moment in time, his name's surely got to be in the hat again in terms of Man of Steel.
Yeah, massive part of what Leeds do really well. Perfect club for him, perfect manager for him. You can see that in his performances. It's not coincidence. I think that the biggest thing for Connor is that Leeds is far bigger than him, and he knows that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really helped him from an ego point of view. He's still got his little bits in him, hushing the wire crowd the other week and stuff. But I enjoy that in the game. It's that to me is a confident player. Obviously, he can take it too far, but I don't think he has this year. I think he's just done enough to be that little wind up. Sam Tompkins was the same, wasn't it? He had his moments with the crowds and stuff. But you've got to give, because to back up a Man of Steel season and be on pretty much the running for it again is phenomenal from any player. He's got some great players around him, but he is making that team tick. And that's saying that with Brodie Croft in the side as well. But he's that important to them.
Yeah, massively important. Like I say, Donny's got a big job on his hands there. I mean, look, of course, they have met earlier in the campaign in round 9, 46-4 win at Headingley for the Dragons in that one. Miller was our man of the match. He did 3 assists.
For the Rhinos.
For the Rhinos, yeah. 46-4 for the Rhinos. Miller was man of the match, 3 assists, 5 busts, 30 carries for 248 metres on that occasion. Absolutely superb. Before we get into the predictions, it's been announced that Ben Garcia is going to retire at the end of the season. I'm not surprised by that. I think, Father Time waits for no man. I think, Ben, I don't know. He struggled the last few seasons, and I think he's actually at the end of his tether on the field in terms of,
I don't think it helped. Played him 9 for a season, did it?
Correct. Yeah, no, that's right. But he's been a great, and let's be fair though, a great servant to Super League over his time at the Dragons. He's going to be their director of Rugby League. So we wish Ben Garcia well when the season ends. And of course, there's the side element of Richard Horn's 11 consecutive tries. Could be matched by Maker Sivo in Perpignan, and then it's all eyes will turn to next week. Can he set a new record? Make a Handley, a new Make a Handley record, should we say? But anyway, I smile as I say that. Do you expect that try scoring streak to continue in Perpignan for Sivo?
I think the question, so the answer would be, I'm surprised if it doesn't.
Yeah,
so and that's I mean, Sivo's been great for Leeds this year. He's been really, really good.
He's done his job.
He's done his job, exactly. And there's Bill Belichick, used to say, just do your job. He's one of the greatest wingers there's been, in terms of the NRL and coming over here. He's done that, but it's more to do with the players that he's got feeding him, because I think most. Yeah, Hanley, I think Miller and Connor, that it's lethal. But Sivo's got to be there. He's got to catch it.
He's got to catch it and put it down.
Yeah, it's a minimum requirement. But he has, to be fair, he has scored some tries which were phenomenal tries and ones we'd expect from a player of his calibre. So I can't see Catalan keeping him out.
No, I can't. Jay Connor's going to make his 300 career appearance, but Callum Watkins says, hold my beer, I'm going to make 300 for Leeds plus the rest. So, fair play to Callum Watkins, what a career he's had. Right, what score are you going? I know you're going Leeds, but by how many?
I'm going to go Leeds 42, Catalan 10.
Ooh, that's a big score. Do you know what? I get that, and I think Leeds could put a score on them. It's going to be very hot. I think somebody said 42 degrees in the chat. It's going to be very, very warm down there. But that said, it's not like previous years where that could hit you. It's been very warm over here recently. So from an acclimatization perspective, not as tough is what I would say where the Rhinos concerned. But I think, like you, Steph, I think it'll be a good score. I'd probably bring it in a little bit. I'd probably go Leeds by around 24-ish. But what I would say is if Leeds got out of there with a 12-point win, they'd be happy. Just get out there with a win. They're at that point now. They don't just get the win. Just get the win is what they'll be saying. But anyway, I do feel a little bit has to be said for the Dragons. Right, then we've got a cracking game. What a game this is. It didn't disappoint the last time. Wakefield Trinity travel to Craven Park to take on the champions, the Robins. Wow, this could be a belter of a game. Who can forget that round 13 tie, 26-24 at the DIY? Of course, the Mason Lino final bit. We had a bit of everything. Tyrone May was on fire in that game. The middle unit of Leeds had a real strong one, especially Mike McMeekin. He was on fire when these two met the last time around. I think it's going to be a real quality game, and it didn't disappoint last time. I don't think it's going to disappoint this time, and Wakefield will go with belief. Wakefield had a very, very convincing win last week, and KR, let's be fair, were tested, got the job done, but they were tested for a long period against FC. Wakey will go into this fancying it for me. They will go into it, whether they get it or not is another, but they will go there and they will fancy the chances. As we put up the tail of the tape, Steph, give us your take on it and pick out of this whatever you can. You are on mute, Steph, just to let you know. Oh, I think the dog's barking. Is the dog barking? Oh, dear. You need to put the dog on your knee and make it stop barking. Nothing like live, is there? Anyway, Steph will pop back in. Let's go through the tail of the tape. Yeah, I mean, as you can see there, 4 wins out of the last 5 for Wakefield Trinity. In great form. They're sitting in 4th. They're above the Robins. You can see that there. And like I say, the scoring power is pretty good. There's not an awful lot between these two teams. 31 average for KR in terms of scoring, 26 for Trinity, slightly behind. And then in the average conceded, only 3 in it. Again, though, the advantage with the Robins where that's concerned. Both have scored 86 tries this season, to their credit. So, like I say, couldn't be any closer there. The amazing thing for me, as I look at this, is the missed tackles. You look at the missed tackle there, 600 thus far this season for Hull KR versus 492 for Wakefield. That's a concern defensively. There's no doubt about that. That is a concern. It was a tight game the last time, and Wakefield still managed to get the job done. There's a bit of a difference there in goal conversions, 81% to 60% in the favour again of Hull KR. But yeah, you go right across all of these statistics. There's no doubt about it. This is going to be very, very interesting indeed. Very, very interesting. I think Wakey, like I say, are going to be well up for it. They're going to give it a proper dig. Steph, now you're back. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's we talked about Saints and Toulouse being the game. This is the one that should be the game of the round. It's whether it delivers. I think it will. Two teams that got good wins. Probably you could argue Wakefield played better attacking rugby, but you've got to factor in the absentees from KR in that game, and still being able to, in a derby game, to still go and win it with the adversity. And I know FC had adversity as well with injuries, but that could have easily been a slip up for KR at Magic. So they'll take a lot of confidence for that. I don't know if there's any players expected back for KR. I don't know if they're going to get any of their big name players that were missing back. But Wakefield are white hot at the moment in terms of attacking rugby. The biggest issue that Wakefield have got is the Craven Park crowd and the atmosphere. It's a big game. It's going to feel like a playoff game, this one. Wakefield will want to take, they want to do the double, won't they, on KR?
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a real tasty one. I think the key for me in this is keeping your heads, because it's going to be really hot on the pitch in terms of the weather. That's all the tempers can well, from a neutral, the tempers do fray and they knock 10 bells out of each other. But
just on that, you're absolutely spot on. And if you look at the yellow cards there, 5 for KR, 3 for Trinity, both have had a red. And you know what? You never know where I'm going. We always say it's like there's telepathy. If harm is going to come, it's going to come from these two. This could be explosive. Jazz Tavanga and Elliot Minchella. These two have got it in them to be grubby. They've got it in them to be involved, like Brad O'Neill was in the Saints game on Sunday. Both of them have got it. Now, for me, when I put this slide together, I think Elliot will be quite disappointed in terms of in certain areas where he ranks here against Tavanga. Minchella last season I felt was exceptional. I think this season he's almost an indication of KR stuttering a little bit. He's just not been, for me, as good this season thus far. There's still plenty of time for that. And when you compare and contrast him to Tavanga there, in some key areas, more tries for Tavanga, tackle bust very much in his favour as well. Whilst I get Minchella does a lot more work, the tackle efficiency, 94 plays 88. I think it just highlights where he's slightly off. That's not a bad. It's not a bad effort from Minchella what we're looking at there by any stretch. But by his standards of last year, he's just not quite fired, has he?
No, and I'd have to guess that Minchella has more minutes per game than Tavanga as well. I don't know that for a fact. I'm sure someone can fact check that one. But it feels that way.
Pitts, what he's been doing, hasn't he? When Pitsy has been on the bench, he has been rotating his 13. So you're spot on.
Yeah, and I agree. Minchella's not hit the the form he had last year, but he's still a great player and he's still the enforcer. And these are the enforcers of the teams, respectively. This is exactly what I had in mind when I was thinking about, hot-headedness, wanting to really get into each other. And I think Wakefield may use that as a tactic because they know if they go in at KR, then that could disrupt them. And likewise, KR know that it could disrupt Wakey. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some niggly tactics from both teams in this one, just to try and get the competitive advantage. And that's exactly what we want to see as a neutral, isn't it? And that's what will probably make this the game of the week. A win is massive for both sides as well in this one. If Lee win and KR lose, I think they go on the same points.
It's massive. It's massive.
So it really tightens everything up, regardless of the result. I think Wakey would go a bit clearer if they won, but obviously KR have got a game in hand against Warrington, so they're all big games now. Like you said, even against the lower clubs, you've got to win them. But this is a 4-pointer, isn't it? At this point in the season, for whoever wins it.
Absolutely massive, mate. It's absolutely massive. They're both sitting there at the moment. Wakey's got a 2-point lead on Hull KR. A win gets them 4 points ahead of KR. Like I say, at this stage of the season, that matters. That really matters.
Yes.
No question about that whatsoever. A golden little bit in the chat there. Ernest Jones. See what I did there? Fair play to him. Ernest is on about Trinity's team. So let's go to Trinity's team. And he's absolutely spot on. You look at this here. No Mason Leno. Of course, Corey Hall is still out. Oliver Pratt is a massive blow. As we've already said this season, Oliver Pratt has been in incredible form as Ollie. He's been superb. I don't know what we're doing here. Hello, we're going through them all. There you are. We'll get there eventually. But yeah, I mean, Pratt's a massive loss in here. And of course, Sinfield also missing. So problems in the halves. The likelihood is it's probably, I'm going to guess here, he's probably going to put Jowett in the halves alongside Truman. With Rourke at full back. So that's not ideal. The backs, which, let's be fair, I think Darrell's had it pretty good this season in terms of injuries. It's not been too bad at Wakefield, but certainly those back areas at the moment may be causing him a little headache or two. If we flip it the other way and you look down the Robins team, Arthur Morg is back in contention. So that's good to see. Arthur, of course, been out for a while with that injury that he picked up at Lee. Mikey Lewis, Tyrone Mayder as always, but of course no Tom Amone, no Dean Hadley, and those are the two big absentees where the Robins are concerned. Your thoughts, first of all, on Wakey though? That they are key men missing, aren't they? Especially the likes of Ollie Pratt and not having a Leno or a Sinfield in there from an organisational perspective, because we know that's not Truman's strength.
Yeah, I think it's advantage KR in the backs and advantage Trin in the forwards based on the absentees. So again, that's really interesting in terms of how that balances out. You'd expect Wakefield might be the better one in that respect because Jowett is a good half when he plays in the halves. So he's a thing, and Rourke's been playing great at fullback. So I think they can cover that pretty well. That go forward concerns me now for KR and who's going to be on the bench. We know how good Wakefield's bench is in terms of rotating the forwards. I'm trying to think who the bench would be there for.
Well, we know. Well, we know that Sue will start. Sue will start, and then alongside him will probably be either. I would probably plumb for Whitbread as a starter. And that would leave Desiree and it would leave Sam Luckley, wouldn't it, as interchange front rowers on the bench for them.
Yeah,
when you factor in how well Tom Amone has played for KR this year. I mean, I was watching some people, other podcasts saying, they'd have Tom Amone as a shout for their player of the year thus far. So that's how well some of the Robins fans think Tom Amone has played this year. And Dean Hadley goes without saying. He just brings a calmness and assurance and a work ethic to KR that's very difficult to replace, really, for me.
Yeah, definitely. He's sorry, the dog's going again. He's brought a lot of go forward, as he did at Lee. No surprise from me to see Tom Amone doing really, really well at KR when he's got his fitness back. It's a shame, obviously, it's that eye injury that's keeping him out, won't it, at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely going to be a big miss. As to his Hadley, it's huge in terms of go forward for KR, those two players, and that's where my concerns from coming, because they are going against the pack. Not only the starting pack, but their interchange of Wakefield is phenomenal. I'd argue probably right up there as the best in Super League in terms of a bench that they bring on when everyone's fully fit. So it's gonna make this one really interesting, Dave. I think it's really hard to predict because you could make a case for both sides winning this game. Throw the injuries in as well, and it's a coin toss for me.
Yeah, it is. So, which way on that coin toss are you going, Mr. Sale?
Because there's very little between the sides. I've got to go home advantage in the KR crowd. I think that's going to be the big factor in this one. The key for Wakefield is to nullify that crowd and silence them. And if they do that, Wakefield will end up on top. But I do think KR will just have enough. But I think it's going to be another incredibly close game.
Yeah, I think Jazz Litton as well. If Jazzy's back, that's a big
well, yeah, obviously, yeah. But it's because I think because without saying that, doesn't it? But yeah, I'm going to go KR by 2.
Yeah, I think it'll be tight. I'm going to go home advantage. I think KR. I think I do. What's absolutely imperative for any team that come up against Wakefield is that you're ahead after 20, 25 minutes. Yeah. Because if you're behind at that point, and then on comes the enforcers, you've got your hands full all of a sudden. So I think that though I just think at the moment Wakey are one of those teams that if you're on top after 25, you're in good position. If you're behind, it's going to be a very tough afternoon, and it'll be interesting to see which way it goes.
I do think though that KR have had the better preparation, because they had it wasn't overly tough against FC, but it was tough enough. Whereas Wakefield had a cakewalk, didn't they? So from a preparing for this game, I think KR slightly have the advantage, which again is sneaking me towards that. But would I be surprised by a 12-point Wakefield victory? Absolutely not. They're playing very well at the minute.
Yeah, I'm going to go KR by about 8. James Batchelor will make his 200th career appearance on Saturday. Right, let's now go to a game that kindly you've invited me to and I've accepted with grace. Lee taking on the Castleford Tigers. Great time for Lee to be taking on the Tigers. That said, Lee have got their own injury problems as well. We'll get to those in a moment. They both, of course, they played each other in round 13 at the One Ball, 24-14, at a time where it's fair to say you were in trouble in terms of you had big injury problems at that point, albeit they're increasing again all of a sudden. And actually, Alec Wickie, who was our man of the match in that particular game, a try and assist, 30 tackles in D, 4 tackle busts and 89 metres. Alec got in that game. He was absolutely superb for you. As I bring up the tail of the tape, there's only 2 positions in you. There's only 2 positions in you, but some key KPIs there. It's bigger than the 2 positions. For example, try 69 to 53.
Yeah. Average against as well. Cass averaging 10 more points a game. I think the surprising one for most people would be the only 22 average for Lee, because Lee are quite well known for being a try scoring side. So that's been the story of Lee's season, though, in terms of they've only had one game, which was funnily enough last week, where they had pretty much their full 1 to 17 what they would start. Obviously, that's been carbosh now again for the rest of the season. So yeah, but Lee need to improve. But there's reasons why they have those stats at the moment.
Yeah. Absolutely. Lee will improve and have been improving. We must say that. But yeah, when you look down the tail of the tape there are significant differences between the 2 sides. That like I say, it only seems like 2 points. But the other thing as well, Lee come in 4 wins out the last 5, just 1 win out the last 5. for the Tigers, and the bookies 1-25 on the Leopards. Wow, that's big. That's big. Let's take a look at the squads, and of course, the really bad news, shocking news, really, for the Lee Leopards is the word that the chances are he's not been completely ruled out. I think there's been a bit of a glimmer being given, but if I'm a betting man, it would appear he is out for the rest of the season, and that is Tessie New. That's a real hammer blow for the Leopards, getting back to form, and he's a big unit to find a solution for. Now, we both agree Jack Hughes isn't that solution. So is this now a case of, well, let's really get on the front foot, let's really start to be expansive, and is this an opportunity now for Bailey Hodgson?
Absolutely. I think if it was my team, I think they may move in his senior to centre just for his size and for dealing with attacking kicks from oppositions, and put Bailey Hodgson on the wing. Bailey can play centre, and they may want to stick with Innes on the wing. So Bailey will be in there. It's just which position he plays, either centre or wing. So I think they can cope with it. But like you said, the devastating thing is Tessie was just showing, especially in that Warrington game, what he can potentially do, and just devastating that he's picked up that injury and ended his, what looks like ended his season.
Yeah, it would appear that way. And of course, I mean, whether he plays or not, but of course, Robbie Mulhern here got an opportunity going up against the team he plays for next season. Of course, he was touch and go, might still be touch and go.
He won't play.
He won't play. So Joffa as well is out. So again, your middle unit is down, but so's theirs, and I think that's the bonus, is the fact that no Hurst, HIA, no Dupree, he's gone. They have recalled Jack Ashworth, but look, Jack Ashworth for me is almost surplus to requirements. Is he going to put his body on the line? Big question. His nose is probably a little bit out of joint in terms of the recent weeks where Castleford are concerned. So I think both sides, the middle units aren't really right going into this game. Of course, we're going to see Lazarus for the first time, so that's going to be good to see him on debut. But I think the middle units in this game, it's as much as a muchness, which I think is going to be really interesting as a neutral who's going to be there, because I just think this is going to be a blow for blow attack fest, because I think there's going to be that much opportunity to break middle ground. It could be, dare I say it, two incredible running nines in Edwin Ipape and Liam Hood.
Yeah,
they could have a field day here in terms of ruck. If they've got to control the ruck, but if the rucks aren't controlled, these two can eat up meters for fun, can't they, on Saturday?
Yeah, and I mean, Lee have lost two prop forwards in Joffa and Mulhern, but they've gained Lazarus Philippou, so it's like they're only really one prop down. So that will help Lee. Lewis Brogan has gone completely under the radar. People are not. He's been exceptional. I think if you speak to any Lee fan, we're made up with Lewis Brogan's progress. He's been brilliant for us. Jack Hughes, I think, will come in, but he'll be in a forward position, which is where he needs to be. We do not want him in the centres.
No.
And if he is in the centres, I think there'll be a lot of Lathers who are very disgruntled.
He doesn't need to be there.
No, he doesn't. He's needed in the forward pack where he has got the size, and that's where he can do it. So I know Owen Trout can obviously go. I think the big one is obviously Alec Wickie as well, not being in the side again. So Leah without testing you, Robbie Muller and Joffa and Alec Wickie, 4 players that are starting players for Lee. But Casa without theirs as well. So it's pretty even in terms of where they would have been anyway for me.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting thing. Now, you never know where I'm going to go on Captain's Run. We like to do things a little bit different on Captain's Run and really get a bit juicy. We have been talking now for a long time in terms of Adam Cook and in terms of, Adam Cook's season thus far. So I thought I'd split it. In terms of his first, I can't remember if it's 9 or 8. I think his first 9 games versus his the 8 games that came after those. So I've split his season into 2 just to see Well, let's have a look. Let's see what he's doing. Here we go. So a season of 2/3. So here you go. 9 appearances in the opening games, 1 try, 6 assists. He kicks 18 from 30, 1 break, 3 busts, 34 attacking kicks, 1 40-20, and he carried the ball 57 times. In his last 8 appearances, 1 less, he scored the same amount of tries. He's made 4 more. He's kicked 30 out of 46, which is an improvement. He's made 5 more tackle clean breaks. He's made 6 more tackle busts. He's made 13 more attacking kicks, same 40-20, and he's carried the ball 79 times as opposed to 57. What that screams to me is not only is a man that is growing in confidence and none more so than the carries. All of because he was hiding a little bit at the start of the season.
Yeah.
What it suggests is as his confidence is growing, he's getting his hands on the ball more. And those statistics, I mean, when you as a Lee fan, you've got to look at that and go, yeah, there you go, in black and white. That is absolute proof this guy's improving.
Yeah, and I think what you've also got to throw into is that he's got Amaya Hanley and now David Armstrong on that side.
Yeah.
So come back into it, which he didn't have in that first one. So, but yeah, for me, it's his breaks and his assists that's really impressed me in the last eight or so games.
Yeah.
He's starting to learn how Lee play. Like I say, it's massive for him to get a potential England squad centre back. And then we all saw what Davy Armstrong can do at the weekend. But that gives him that threat of Armstrong gives him the ability to throw a dummy and go himself, which I think he didn't have at the beginning of the season. So there are reasons alongside also him getting more confident and really settling into Super League as well, because it's a different game to what they play over in the NRL and the Queensland Cup, and especially the younger players, it does take them a bit of time to get used to it. But he settled in really well. I think he's probably the most lucky goal kicker percentage-wise that gets the most kicks from the touchline, just because of the fact that's where Lee score all the tries. They don't score down the middle, so that doesn't help him on his statistics. But he has improved, although it's still not where it needs to be.
No, but again, I don't like, and it's like yourself. You know that he's improving. You know he is, but I think sometimes to do that and go, well, there you go. And I think that there's a lot there to be happy about. It'd be interesting to compare and contrast his next 8 games to that middle 8 games. And to see where that is in 8 games' time. Carla Collier is watching us. Carla, agreeing with you over Brogan. She's another, of course, Be the Roarer. Is Carla, one of our tackle talkers, and she also says Brogan for her is doing very, very well. We've done this for Cook, so I thought I'd do the same for Christian Mapapalangi. And this is interesting because, Mapapalangi for me, he's appeared to be a bit off. And I thought, well, okay.
I was going to say, I think he probably got worse.
Yeah. Well, he has, and there's probably reasons for that as well. He has got a little bit worse. This is Christian. Now he's actually played 16 games. He missed 1, so 8 and 8. His first 8 games: 5 tries, 4 assists, 6 breaks, 37 busts, 5 offloads, 9 errors, 114 carries for 976 meters. His last 8 games: 2 less tries with 3, exactly the same assists with 4, 1 less break with 5. He's down, as you can see there, 9 tackle busts, up on his offloads by 1, errors the same, carried it slightly less at 110 and made 808 meters. Now, in fairness to Christian Mapapalangi, this suggests to me that all of a sudden he's no longer that surprise package. At the start of the season, were people preparing for Christian Mapapalangi? Probably not. And I think what we're seeing here, it's not that he's necessarily dropped off, because some of those stats are on a par. But I think when you look at meters made, the fact that he's had to make an extra offload in there as well, he's not making as many tackle busts. This suggests to me that no, the reason for that isn't Christian and his effort areas and what he's trying to do. It's actually the preparation of the teams that he's coming up against, because they know this is where the threat is. And if they don't neutralise Mapapalangi, they've got a big problem on that edge.
Yeah, and I mean, with the greatest respect, I say this, but Cass haven't got a lot of other things to focus on, have they? Probably Gary and him are the two, aren't they?
Yeah.
Who actually are playing really, really well for Castleford. So from a coaching tactic dial-up plan, Cass is probably one of the easier ones to prepare for. But I think you're absolutely right. He has definitely been the surprise factor's gone with him. People know what they're going to get. For someone who's just signed a big deal, I would have liked to have seen that try count higher. But you've also got to factor in who they played in those 8 games. I don't know what their opposition was, but that could be a factor as well. But there's no doubt. I think next season's going to be the one for Christian, because there's no doubt Cass are going to improve with the signings they're already making. And this guy's had a lot on his shoulders this season. He's carried that team, like I say, alongside Gary.
Yeah,
So
just coming back to what you said, the eight games that he played after, one of them, the first one was KR, then it was York, then it was Saints, then Lee, then the Dragons, then Toulouse, then York again, then Trin. So it's not like there's a mix in there, is what I'm trying to say.
you'd expect him to have more tries against some of those teams.
I would say so.
Someone of his quality, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. But like I said, I still think, next year where he's concerned, once these changes come in, it's going to be a very different Castleford. I think we'll see him go again. But I thought, if we were going to, Adam Cook start the season getting a load of flack, is improved. Mapapalangi at the start of the season being talked about potential dream team, slightly gone off. I felt it was an interesting thing to go and have a look at because we had time to do so, and hopefully people have enjoyed that. And like I say, that's not being disparaging to Mapapalangi, but it's just felt that he's not been as potent these last few weeks, and of course that will back it up. But I think he could have another spurt between now and the end of the season. In the chat there, Ulysses, have League fans created a song for Lazarus yet? Well, I don't know. Have they?
We'll find out on Saturday, won't we?
Yeah, maybe I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross, Lazarus, second coming, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, interesting, but no, I'm sure they'll come up with something. They will. And let's be fair, we'll all be looking forward to seeing him in terms of what he's all about. It's always good when a middle unit comes in to see what they're all about, and I'm looking forward to it. Right, let's get to the prediction, Steph. I know you're going to back your team. Question is, by how many?
Like the big unknown is the Lazarus, who we were just saying. Then I would have liked him to at least partnered one of the other two in Mullen or Joffa, but we don't know. Given both teams having injuries, I think that kind of equals itself out. So on that, you've got to go with a comfortable Lee win. First game back at home for Lee in 8 weeks, which is massive. So the crowd should be well up for it. Lee are actually the only team that's beaten Lee in the last 10 games is KR. So that's an interesting stat. And if you went on the last 10 games, Lee are third in the table in terms of form guide. So Lee are playing some really good rugby at the moment. But Cass are one of those sides where if you give them a glimmer, we've seen it already this season at Wigan. That this team has been able to go there and win that. So you've got to turn up. But I'm going to go for a good Lee win, Lee by 18.
Yeah, I'm going to go Lee. I would go maybe a little bit more, maybe 22, because I think for me, yes, we've talked about the middle units both being depleted. I think you compare and contrast the two spines. There's a gulf for me in the spines.
Yeah. Absolutely. Leo still have Pape, Liu,
Lamb, Cook,
Armstrong. Cook.
Yeah, there's no comparison. And I think in a game like this, where I do think that it will be a backs game. I think it will be dictated by the backs. This one, like many, where we see the forwards are the real linchpins. I don't see that in this. I think it will be. I think it'll be a bit of flair. I think there'll be a bit of
offload. I think the one to watch here, Dave, if you remember the last time Amaya Hanley and Josh Charnley played together, that kick chase from them was absolutely phenomenal. I forget who they played, but it was a home game.
Hull FC.
Was it Hull FC?
Hull
yeah.
FC.
And Charnley and Hanley were just phenomenal. Obviously, Josh missed last week as well, so he'll be really keen to get on the scoreboard again and take advantage of Ryan Hall's spell on the sidelines
Absolutely. Well,
with
if
his
he gets
striker.
2 tries, he goes level with Mick Sullivan in joint 20th place in the all-time scorers in the British game. So another little record for him. In the top 20, he will go. So that'll be interesting for him. Let's move forward. Let's get ourselves over to the Aku Stadium. Oh, this is. Let's have a chat about this one, shall we? Look, tail of the tape. It's the bottom two sides. 4 to 5, 10 to 11. Pretty much evens. I mean, for both. I mean, it's a flip a coin as far as the bookies are concerned, where these two are currently. The tail of the tape, as you would expect, very, very tight. Nothing in that really between them. Of course, when Huddersfield went to Bradford, it was Jaden Nikarima who was absolutely on the night, simply exceptional. For those, just to jog your memory, 2 tries on the night, an assist, 9 busts, 2 clean breaks. He ran them to death. And Joe Mellor was tenacious, 61 tackles that night for the Bulls for Joe Mellor, and they got the job done. It was a really, really bad night for Huddersfield Giants, that one. No question about it. I think was that Robinson's last game.
Would have been.
Yeah, round 5. It certainly put petrol on the fire. There's no doubt.
Yeah,
it wasn't. I think Greg Roach will be able to tell us in the chat. Somebody's telling me that might have been his last game. But anyway, but yeah, cracking win last time round for Bradford. Like I say, you look at those stats. No coach wants to be reading stats like that after 17 rounds. But there you go. It's dare I say it. You know how much respect I've got for the Cowbell Army in terms of the supporters. You know, to be doing what they're doing week in, week out, you can't be anything but you can't applaud them anymore. And normally they are, you know, they're pretty resistant. You know, to overt criticism in a stadium where their team is concerned. But having lost last week to York, if they go down to Bradford on Friday or look as if they're going down for Bradford, it could be. It's going to be interesting to see the reaction then. Would you agree?
Well, yeah. It's a difficult one because I'm trying to find some positives, and I'm sure there are, some positives for Huddersfield.
Well,
But the
Greg's put in the
pressures,
chat. Greg's put in the chat LED lights, so that's where Greg's gone.
yeah. Well, that will be nice to see. What
It'll,
time's
illu-
kickoff?
it'll light up the field. It'll be it's Friday. It's 8 o'clock, isn't it?
Oh, it's 8 o'clock. Yes. So yeah, they'll look nice on Sky.
Yes, Dave Greg has put. So it was Robbo's last game.
Yeah. I'm really.
Should we go to the squads?
yeah. Let's do that. Yeah,
let's go to the squads. And again, you look at it from a Giants perspective. Yes, there's no Clune, and we know how important Clune is to the Giants. But in terms of their squad and who they've got for this season, there's a lot there.
It's not injuries now, is it? Look at the squad numbers.
Yeah, not really. They've got a couple, obviously Tom Burgess is still out, Clune's still out, there's a few there. But in the main, they can't really have any real issues with regards to squad selection. And it's the same for Bradford, really. Bradford, by their squad, is not in bad fettle whatsoever. It looks in decent order for this game. So we are going to get the better versions of these two teams in terms of what that they can have to offer. So there can be no real excuses made at full time, regardless of who wins.
I was struggling before. Well, what I can say is I think this will be a really enjoyable game to watch because it's going to be a try-fest, I think. Both sides can be a bit vulnerable defensively, but also can score some great tries. So there you go. There's a positive. Huddersfield have scored some lovely tries with the likes of Gagai, Swift. So
Asher O'Donnell's a big blow.
It is a big blow. So yes, from the injuries, that's probably the biggest because he's been great for them since he came in. But I'm going to stay positive. I think from a neutral point of view, I think this could be a really good watch. Now, the Giants or Bulls fans may disagree with that because they'll be focusing on the defence a lot more as well. We want to see tries as neutrals, and I think this game could be a try fest. I think both teams have got it in them to score points. Jacob Gagai's really impressed me this season. In a side that's been as poor as Huddersfield have been, I think he's been a shining light for them. And I really want to see Adam Swift explode like we know he can.
I think the danger here for me for Huddersfield, and in the chat again there, Greg Roach just saying about Patello. Of course, he's out as well, isn't he?
Yes.
For this one, so they are missing some middle units. So Huddersfield, no doubt about it. But I think the problem that they've got, there's two things here for me. One, I've got more faith in the 6 that plays for Bradford than I have the 6 that plays for Huddersfield in a game like this.
Definitely.
Yeah, because 100%. you need your 6, you need your halfback to keep the head, to play the game. Almost for me, this has got rugby by numbers written all over it. The team that can keep the structure, keep the shape, and play strong, but not to a degree conservative rugby league. Will probably stand a better chance because we know they both have got errors in them. And the other concern that I've got at this moment in time is I still think Huddersfield are clunky on the edges. I think the left edge with Gagai and Swift, because Swift's been in and out, that's not cemented perhaps as much as it could have done. And it's still dangerous. But I think the partnership between Blake and Ryan on the left for Bradford does look very good. And that will be a concern if I'm Huddersfield Giants going into this game. I picked out a little battle. I picked one out for you, Steph. Here it comes. And it's this one, emerging talents.
Yeah.
Fenton Rogers, Aribi Doro. Now look, Doro's 25, but by prop forward standards, he's a baby. They don't hit the straps until a lot later. And it's interesting to look at these two because I think they've still got growth in them, both of them. But they are going to be going toe to toe. And I think that this, for me, is going to be a real interesting little tussle. Two young players trying to make their way in Super League. Both got a very strong carry on them. The one stat on there that really, really sticks out for me, and again, I go back to that piece around conservatism, is 21 offloads for Fenton.
Yeah, and it's a really good stat normally.
It's how many that he's not executing.
Well, yeah, that's it, and it's whether Huddersfield take advantage of it as well is the other thing. I'm really impressed with Fenton Rogers. I'd like to see him in the top 6 side and see how he goes because I think he is a very, very good player. Same with Doro. He's done really well since going to Bradford. I think he was unlucky that he got released from KR because, again, I'd like to see him have a bit more of an extended run. And I know he's a bit of a fan favourite at KR, wasn't he, for his efforts that he put in? And that's all you can ask from these players. But both really talented, and will both have an impact on who wins this game 100% because down the middle it's going to be tough. But I do think it's going to be won in the backs this game. But the forwards have got to give the backs that platform.
Yeah, I think it's a great little tussle. And I think Aribi's found his club for me. Of course, it's not the first time he's been at Bradford, in his career. And I think, they obviously like him. He's getting minutes. He's getting game time. And I think it's a cracking little tussle. It really, really is. And again, Greg Roach, very concerned over Nick Arima. He destroyed them. He destroyed them at Odsal in that first game. He absolutely did. Now, I'm going to say on this one, I can see this, and I'm about to say this, and Huddersfield will blitz them. I see one or two things happening here. Either Huddersfield win a nail biter, where you're going into the dying embers, or Bradford win by at least 2. That I can't see it going any other way. I think Bradford, for me, have shown at times better attacking shape, better consistency. I think mindset as well. As much as Huddersfield will fancy this and will see this as an opportunity as opposed to 2 points, what's between the 2 ears of these 2 clubs at the moment, I think Bradford will just have that little bit more stability between the ears at the minute than Huddersfield. Huddersfield can't be daft. All the noise around Huddersfield, it's got to be affecting those players. So for me, it's either going to be a tight Huddersfield win or a 2-try-plus win for Bradford. That's how I see it. How do you see it?
This one really could go either way. It really could. So it's another coin toss. I'm going to give the Giants fans some hope. Giants by 8.
Tight. If that will be a tight, it will be a tight one. If that would be the case, 300 career appearances for Andy Ackers if he plays on Friday. So that's a good knock. Nothing wrong with that. Right. Do you know what? A couple of weeks ago, I'm thinking this is a cakewalk for Wigan, the way Warrington's form has been, and certainly the way Wigan were playing at that point. But Magic Weekend has just completely thrown this up in the air, Warrington against Wigan. It really, really has. And it's got a similar feel to the game that happened at the Halliwell Jones Stadium, where Wigan came into it without halves. You know, they came into that game and Warrington bullied down the middle because there was an opportunity to do so. Warrington winning 23 points to 6. They will be without the man of the match from that game, though, Jake Fulis. He's not there, of course, for Warrington. We'll get to the teams in a minute. But this is the tale of the tape, Steph, between the two. Warrington third, Wigan currently second. And I think, you know, from Warrington, I'm still scratching my head how that can be, but that's by the by. But when you're looking, again, you compare and contrast these two, it's pretty even, Stevens, albeit Warrington's discipline, 9 yellows to Wiggins 4. That's a concern. But as you'd expect, Warrington dummy half runs a lot bigger than Wigan, but that's because Danny Walker runs and Brad O'Neill is there for his tackling and his defence. It is what it is. Very, very tight as a tail of the tape. Wigan in good form, 5 wins on the bounce. But as we're about to say in a moment, injury-wise, really affected him. Before we go to the squads, your thoughts on what you've seen there, Steph? If he was there, he'd tell me, but he's not. He's disappeared again. Don't know what's going on with Steph. Obviously, the dog's going again. It is live, so you're going to have to forgive us. So I'll go through the squads while Steph's in the background. Of course, massive problems for the Wigan Warriors. You look at that lineup. I mean, you know, 20 squad numbers 23 to as low as 43 for the Wigan Warriors. This is a real test now for the Warriors, of course. No Liam Marshall still, no Jack Farman, no Bevan French. What are they going to do in the halfbacks? Of course, when they went to Warrington, they had no Harry Smith. Steph is now back. They had no Harry Smith. So they had Jack Farman and, of course, Kieran that night in there. Will they put Kieran back in the halves? It's a possibility. They could do that. But Wigan are really down on the haunches when you look at that. Of course, no Junior in Sember, still no Liam Farrell. You know, the list goes on and on and on. You look at the Warrington side, and back in their side, you've got the likes of Kai Taylor-Ray who's listed, Toby King is there, Toff Sipley's back in there. So Warrington, even though they've got a couple of injuries of their own, you look at very, very like Saints at the weekend. You'd have said the same about Saints at the weekend, and look what Wigan did to them. But it just feels that this is a very different Wigan side to the one that Saints met at the weekend. There's big holes in that team now.
Yeah, well, the thing that stands out for me with that Wigan squad is numbers 23 to 43.
Yeah,
you know, we don't often see that, do we, from a Wigan side? So we know it's a stonewall fact that there's going to be at least 3 or 4 young lads playing in this game for Wigan. Warrington have definitely got some injuries as well, no more so than Thulis. Mark Sneed should be dropped from his performance against Lee. So that's going to be interesting whether he goes with Hayes and Irwin for this one. It's a big game to have such young halves in. But for me, if I was Sam Burgess, I would probably go with that based on what I saw at the weekend. I think Sneed looked like he disengaged from Warrington completely. I don't know if you agree with that as a Warrington fan.
Yeah. I mean, there's the thing about Matt Sharpness as well. He hasn't played, so you know there's that element of Matt Sharpness. He's not like he's been playing reserve grade. He's not. So there's a little bit of that. But yeah, it was a very, very below par by Mark Sneed's standards, good or bad. It was very, very below par. From Sneed, but you know, just saying about those kids, I thought you know, I think Taylor Kerr this year we've seen bits of him and he's looked part. I was very impressed with Shea O'Connor. I thought the minute Shea played, I thought he attributed himself really well at the weekend for Wigan. He could be very proud of that performance.
Yeah, he was great, wasn't he? Whether the weather will suit him this weekend because he's a fair skinned lad, isn't he? No, joking aside, I think he attributed himself really, really well. Some really big contact, wasn't there, as well? I think it was the Clark tackle on him, which was a monster
Yeah, huge hit.
But to credit to the lad, for such a young lad, it was like an Adrian Morley run by him. You know, it was didn't
No
show any fear or anything like that. And that's definitely a Wigan trait that's been put into him. I'm excited to see more of him. I think he could be a very good player for Wigan. Like I say, showed all the correct attributes for that. But going back to the halves, I think it's a good opportunity with Irwin and Hayes because it's just Harry Smith, isn't it, and another. Whether that's Kieran or whoever, it would be someone who's not a halfback more than likely. And I think those two could have more of an influence than Harry Smith. And especially if Kai Taylor-Ray can come back in and Irwin does start in his natural position, that will certainly help Warrington.
Yeah, it will. I mean, I think we might see a bit of George O'Loughlin in this one as well. I think George, if they do, I do see Kieran going into the halves, which for me, the way Kieran's been playing this year on the right edge with Zach Exler, I think they've been superb. I really do. I think Kieran this year, I thought he was good last year. I think he's been even better this year for Wigan. He got off to a slow start at Wigan, but he's really coming to his own. He's we're seeing the player he was at Catalan, only playing with better players around him for me. Really good.
Was he in the halves when Wigan lost to Castleford and Huddersfield?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think he definitely was for one of them.
For one of them, he was. They put the young lad in, didn't they, for one of them, alongside Farrimond.
I don't think it's the problem of playing him in the halves. I think it's the problem, like you say, of disrupting that partnership that him and Eckersley have got.
Yeah.
And he has to do, because he's on the inside, he has to do a bit more.
Now they played
the forwards.
They played George Marsden in one of them, didn't they?
Yeah. But I think where Kieran's really come onto his own is his defensive efforts. I think centres are scared to play against Kieran. He can really hit hard, and that partnership with Eckersley as well has been phenomenal all season. So if they have to disrupt that as well as the disruption of having him in the halves, that could be, Warrington should be looking to take advantage of that if that is the case.
Well, absolutely, and it would weaken that edge a little bit if Lachlan went in and Kieran went back into the halves. And I think, like Sevo and Hanley at Leeds, I think that, Kieran, for me, benefits because he's got a really good option on his right-hand side that defenders are concerned about, which is Eckersley. So sometimes he can show and go and get a right result off the back of it. Yeah. For me, these three players, if Wigan are going to win this game, these three players for me are absolutely vital. Harry Smith, Brad O'Neill, Jay Field. Yeah. These three, Smith needs to control it. O'Neill's defence, controlling the ruck, trying to get Wigan in the grind and on top early doors. And for me, Jay Field on the arches, creating havoc, busting tackles, causing Warrington real problems and creating second phase. If one of these is off, I think Warrington win. I think all three of these players on Friday night, all of them have to be 9 out of 10. All of them. That's my personal belief.
Yeah, well, when you're in a situation of adversity, you need your generals to step up. Your leaders need to come to the fore, and especially when you've got young lads from academy and whatever coming into the team. These are the players who they will look up to, and the leaders and for inspiration and belief that they can go out and win this, because they'll be nervous going into this game, obviously. But you're right, it's the spine of Wigan, and a bit like you were saying about Lee. Wigan's spine is quite well intact, isn't it? Apart from the sixth position, Ellis is still going to play. O'Neill's playing, Smith is playing, and Field's playing. So that will cause Warrington issues 100%.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. When you look at Wigan's squad, I could be wrong. When you look at Wigan's squad here and you look at the positions that these younger players that have been named in the squad traditionally play, a lot of these are back row forwards, a lot of these young lads that they've got in the team. So I think they might have to use Cade Ellis as a prop in this, put Partington at, which we know he can do, put Partington at 13 and put one of these young lads in second row.
Yes, yeah, and that would be the clever thing to do because Partington we know can do very well at 13. Ellis is big enough to play as a middle, and I think not disappointing. That's probably the wrong word, but Warrington's middles haven't been where they've been previous years for me, and I think Ben Harrison. Sorry, it's James Harrison, isn't it? Not Ben.
James.
James Harrison. Um, he's key to Warrington, and I don't think he's hit his straps from last year yet. But he's had injuries as well, hasn't he, this year? So it's a big game for him in the middle.
And Liam
But
Byrne going back to the brick.
and Liam Byrne returning. So one thing you can guarantee from Liam is he'll be well motivated for this one and really wanting to show Wigan what they lost in as a player. So I think Wigan can cope with it, and I think they're at home as well, which will be a big advantage. But we've seen Warrington in previous years go to the brick and win comfortably. So Wigan are going to have to be excellent to beat Warrington, I think, in this one, looking at the two squads.
Well, opportunity knocks for Warrington here, just in terms of their solidifying the top 6 credentials. They lose to a Wigan side like that. It's an unbelievable win for Wigan in terms of them cementing themselves in there. And it's a calamity for Warrington. I mean, there's no excuses here. You know, where Warrington 2 or 3 weeks ago might have had an excuse going into this game based on Wigan's form and all the rest of it. All of a sudden now, Sam Burgess has got no excuses. Warrington fans will expect to go to the brick on Friday and win. And if they don't, then it could start to get interesting at Warrington.
If Sam is they're going to start looking for excuses if Warrington do lose, I would go straight back to him and say, well, Castleford and Huddersfield beat Wigan with less players out.
Well, there you go. Before we go and give our predictions for this is an interesting one. I just thought we'd dip our toe into this tonight. I think it's fair to say at this moment in time that Danny Walker, Jez Litton have not really been at the top of the game yet. And I use the word yet. You know, at the start of the season, we're saying it's Jez, it's Danny, they're going. And of course, they're in that England train-on squad. And Brad O'Neill would have been in very few people's thoughts. And you know, Brad O'Neill is not a go-forward 9. We know that. But he gives you something different. If you want a yin and yang at 9, one on the bench, one on the field, then Brad O'Neill probably is that player. That's the yin to Jez Litton or Danny Walker's yang. But at the moment, like I say, Danny and Jez, they just don't. And injuries are causing problems for Jez Litton, and I get that. But when you look at those statistics thus far this year, it's fair to say that, you know, there's more in them, isn't there? I just felt it was interesting to just compare and contrast them. You know, Brad O'Neill's not a million. I mean, like I say, he's not a go forward. He's not a runner. He's not a runner. But what's your thoughts? Just in terms of that?
Brad O'Neill is a distributor and a defensive enforcer in the hooking role. Whereas I'd say Danny and Jez are more attacking hookers, go forward. And I think the tackle count speaks for itself. I think another one where Brad O'Neill is probably the one that's playing the most minutes, isn't he? You know, who interchanges for Brad O'Neill at Wigan.
Well, to be fair, though, Danny's been doing. I would say Danny does more. I think Danny this season has done a lot of minutes at Warrington. Because Sam Powell in a lot of games has not even been selected.
Yeah.
So,
but Brad O'Neill's the only Wigan hooker, isn't it? Apart from
Brad O'Neill, Brad O'Neill's, But
they're probably similar. Where obviously Litton's got Lawton, hasn't he? So he's more of an interchange impact hooker. But what an impact hooker he is. I think the problem that Litton's got is he's not played badly by any means. He's been great for KR this year, but he's not been as good. And he was the best last year. That's why. Yeah. So it's a bit like KR's season. You know, they've still been good. They're still right up there in the in the playoff places, and with a great winning streak behind the back at the moment as well. But I think even KR fans would agree that they've not quite been where they were last season. They've had a lot more injuries this year as well, KR, to be fair to them.
Yeah, I agree. It's just interesting to see. Like I say, we keep an eye on that. But I think there's certainly more in both Danny and Jez. But I think, you know, Brad, he's playing to his strengths and he's doing very, very well this year. Right, who are you going with, Bayame?
Warrington by 6.
We'll go by 10. I'll go by 10. And the only reason I'm saying that is they won by 17, and it's very similar to the Wigan. But in fact, actually, this is they're in worse shape, Wigan, to what they were at the HJ.
Yeah,
So,
I would caveat though. I would say if Warrington play like they played against League, we're going to win.
oh, they're in trouble. Yeah, they're in trouble. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I think the seed pick's the key one for me. If Irwin and Hayes play and they both play well,
yeah,
then I think Warrington can win.
well, look, if he's going to throw those two in at Saints at the totally wicked, mate, he throws them in at the brick, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
at the end of the day, you know, Mark Sneyd would have to concede that performance does not give him the right to start on Friday. So it'll be very, very interesting indeed. 100 appearance for Brad O'Neill in this one. Toby King plays, it'll be his 200th Warrington appearance in his 100th career. Which is interesting. Kalepi Tanginoa 200 for his career. And if Matty Ashton scores a brace, that will take him to 100 for the Warrington Wolves. So some there. Right, we get to tonight's game. And again, what a game. What a game this one is going to be. York taking on Hull FC. Yeah, what an interesting game. Who can forget, of course, just to remind people, unless you did forget, round 3, Hull FC 16, York 17. They've beaten once already this year on away soil of York. David Nofaluma scoring 2 tries that night, 19 carries, 129 metres. He was the man of the match for York on that occasion. Coming up against FC. This, for me, unprecedented. Could be 3 in a row tonight for York Knights. Now, nobody would have had York Knights going 3 in a row at any point in 2026. So that in itself, Steph, is a story if it happens.
Yeah, and back at the LNER as well, so that's going to be really helpful. I think the fans are going to be really up for this one as well. They'll smell a bit of blood here. I think the only concern for York is the form of Arthur. I think he was phenomenal at the weekend in a losing side. But they'll take loads of confidence from those 2 wins, will York. Nofaluma is on the wing. Did he get a hat-trick at the weekend?
No, God, no, I'm going to say. Did he?
Yeah,
Did he get a hat-trick or was it 2?
I think he scored at least 2. I didn't know if it was a hat-trick or not. But he's a great player. I really like him. I think he's a quality player. So yeah, it's. I think the LNER is going to be a big factor for them. If that crowd can really make it hostile, that'll definitely help them. But I think there's confidence in that team as well. You know, they've got confidence in each other. They've proven that they can win against Super League opposition. That's gone now, isn't it? They know they can do it. So, and there's not much in these 2 sides in terms of statistics, is there?
No, there's not. And I think, you know, the one thing for me that York, I think, will be slightly happy about is, of course, they came up against Huddersfield. They did concede 24, but that's down on their average for the season. So that's a positive. And like I say, it's an interesting dilemma. Again, from a York perspective, they're at home and they've already beaten FC. So that in itself breeds a little bit of confidence, doesn't it? You're right to talk, though, about Jake Arthur, but I'm going to throw at you Cody Hunter because, again, you never know where I'm going. Jake Arthur's improved throughout the season, progressively improved. We must remember Cody Hunter, young guy, comes over from Australia, played a little bit at Newcastle this year, was given an opportunity. He's shone in the Toulouse game. He's shone at the weekend. He's playing some wonderful, wonderful rugby league. And I think that these 2 sixes, these are the players for me tonight. These 2 players at the moment, they're banging form and they will have a massive, massive say on who walks away tonight with the 2 points. I think, you know, statistically speaking, for two players who are playing in teams that, you know, to all intents and purposes, at the bottom end of the table, you know, 5 tries and 9 assists in 10 games for Cody Hunter. That's not to be sniffed at, is it?
No, and I've been really impressed with him. I think he's a really, really good, player. What was the case of Harris, the captain?
Well, he's gone.
Yeah.
And Ngannou. So at the start of the season, it was going to be Harris and Ngannou. Ngannou's been playing off the bench, but you're absolutely spot on at the start of the season. Harris and Ngannou were there. Liam Harris, for whatever reason, has been dropped, and the captain as well.
Yeah.
for Paul McShane, and that's a whole different story. Paul McShane playing 7, but he's doing a great job. And this guy's been brought in, and like I say, he's keeping what were the starting halves out of the side. He's playing that well.
Absolutely, and that was the point I was making. That he's been a breath of fresh air for him. I think he's a solid player, picking up man of the matches, and he's key. I think to those victories, what they've had recently, he's been a big part of York's wins. So it'll be interesting to see whether he can back up again tonight and really show FC what he can do.
Couldn't agree with you more. Dino Brown in the chat there. Hello, Dean, on his way to the York game tonight. He's going York by 10 up the Knights, is what he's saying. Good on you, mate. Hopefully you tune in to all the other shows we do here at Super League Raw. First time I've seen you in the chat. Great to have York fans discovering Super League Raw. Safe journey. Enjoy the game. These are the squads. And like you say, you look at that Hull FC squad, you know, they'll be gutted Matauti is gone. They'll be gutted that Matauti is gone in terms of depth. Of course, Jed Cartwright gone. So you know he's gone today. He's not there. So he won't be played. So you look at their middle unit for me, and you can factor in how well Paul Vaughan is playing, and Xavier Var as well, coming off the bench. He's got a bit of go forward about him. I think the middle unit battles. I see York winning that. I know Big Herman's there. I get that, but I think York have got enough to really muscle up down the middle. That often dictates who wins. And like you say, David Nofaluma, you know, Bennison's scoring again. You know,
Bennison's playing well.
Yeah, they've got the strike, York. So for me, I'm going to go early here. I'm going to back York tonight. I'm going to go there. I'm going to back York by 8.
Wow. Yeah, well, form would be in their favour, home advantage in their favour. My concern for York is defensively, especially if the likes of Borough starts running at them, and then Big Herman. You know, I can see Herman SA getting a try. I'm not going to bet Steph, but I think SASE will score tonight against York's defence. O'Neill will be buoyed by that, you know, signing permanently for FC. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes. Logan Moy, I think, has been playing pretty decent as well for FC. Really good.
He's been outstanding. But I'll tell you the other one as well. What's going to be dead interesting as a side show tonight, mate. They need Balmforth playing against his parent club.
Yes, and he'll be well up for that, won't it? You know,
absolutely.
But I tell you, from a York, one of the players who I think's really got the potential to go into a top 6 side is Xavier Var. I think there'll be some clubs looking at him. I think he's a really no nonsense forward. Reminds me of Tom Amon a little bit when he first came over to the Super League. So I'm excited to watch him tonight. I think you're right in Benison. He's really upped his game. And Paul Vaughan has been phenomenal for them, hasn't he? He has rolled back the clock. And Mataf is a good fullback as well. You know, he's got a mistake in him, but he has also got a lot of ability. So,
do you know what though? Another name that I thought Tom Inman, who's been deputising as one of the hookers with McShane. I don't think he's let himself down. And the other one that I think's been growing week by week is young Ollie Field. I think Ollie Field in second row. He's you know, slow start at the start of the season, but he's starting to get his legs. So like I say, for me, I'm just home turf. They've beaten once already. I think, you know, FC have got real personnel issues in there. I'm going to go York by 8.
Well, in honour of Dean, I've not seen his name before, like you said. So in honour of Dean, the York fan coming onto the live chat, I'm going to match him. York by 10.
So there you go. That's the whistle stop tour. That is only the captain's run. We've gone through more. What a great chat that's been. There's nothing like Super League Raw captain's run. There's the analytics. We talked about some key matchups. We've got into the detail. We've had a great discussion of me and my old mucker Steph this afternoon for you. A bit earlier than normal, but there you jolly well go. Go and get your teas. Go and get your beers chilled. Go and get whatever your takeaway is going to be. Super League is about to kick off in an hour and 20 minutes as York take on Hull FC. If you go into a game this weekend, enjoy it. If you go into League Castleford this weekend, come and find Super League Raw. Myself and Steph will, of course, be at the cricket club for 1 o'clock, but we'll be in and around the stadium as well during the course of the day. And of course, we'll be doing an instant reaction at full time. Also,
Yeah, might even do a live before the game.
Might even do a live, might even do a live from the
from the lounge. Yeah, might do a live.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, from myself and from Steph, go and enjoy your Super League. It's been an absolute pleasure to be with you. Dino says he loves it. I'm sure Dino will be back. Dino, we get to do it all again live, 8 p.m. Tuesday, Super League Raw Weekly. You can't beat a bit of Weekly. Same time, same channel, 8 o'clock Tuesday night. Come and watch a bit of Weekly. Keep all things Super League Raw over the weekend. From me and from Steph, it's round 18, folks. Bye for now.